Originally, this video was meant to go through my entire experience with Mystic Mongrel from day one until present day, but I eventually decided against that, and only to focus on a proper response for the time being, as that in the end would just get too messy and people wouldn't be as prompted to, watch what I actually have to say in response to Fry. So the video will be coming out December 16th, where I talk about Mongrel, and then, the 23rd and the 30th. I feel it's just going to be a lot easier that way, and I'm also going to show the old videos I had on Ray Rant's messages with Maxi, because after what I found out he and Nekopon did in June of this year, 2021, I'm not giving myself a choice but to put them up, even if he begs and pleads. I don't care. I don't believe I'm actually allowed to state too much on what had happened, but let's just say they endangered another minor in a sexual way yet again. This time as a duo. So, I know why Ray was so defensive, but this video is not about them. Y'all want to hear my reaction to Fry's video standing at like 2 likes and 17 dislikes, as well as Mongrel's now defunct video, don't you? Well, let's not keep you toe suckers waiting any longer for that jam. Toe jam delicious. That'll make sense later on.
I usually try to do an upbeat attitude for my videos, or whenever I appear in live streams. However, the situation isn't really a laughing matter, so I won't really treat it as such. I'll explain my side of the story between the feud of Emmy, Phoebe, Chichilla, and to some extent, Mill. Before I do, I want to get a couple things out of the way. One, I do not consider myself nor Mongrel to be a group. We are merely two individuals who collaborate on occasion. Mongrel doesn't order me around like a boss, or I'm like a little servant. I am a free person.
Here we have Fry stating, Mongrel him are not a group. When a group is categorized as 2 or more people, in fact, to have a gang you actually only need 5 people, and to have a war party you only need 7. You've heard me correctly on that. Why we had stated that Mongrel and Fry were the same entity was due to Fry himself stating that VB, June, myself, and others were Emmy by extension, merely for hanging out with Emmy. As a result, the same was done back to Fry in those very same regards, and he would always get pissed off about it and try to come up with excuses why we were Emmy, but he was not Mongrel, and it was more just us having a little bit of fun, and of course he has to go and get pissy about that.
Two, I'll reiterate, for the gazillionth time, that Mongrel isn't a groomer or a pedophile. There is no proof that she is one.
Fry states that there's no evidence that Mystic Mongrel is a pedophile or a groomer. Now here's where we get into what I like to call the hypocrisy zone. We've already seen a little bit of that before with us calling him Mongrel because he's calling us all Emmy. FryFilms states that due to Carmen Ryder being sexually attracted to lolicon characters and hentai, that Carmen Ryder is a pedophile. But if I go to Facebook.com here, and I look at my direct messages with Mystic Mongrel, we can see the girl from The Ring, as well as Frisk and Kara, aged up. And while you might be thinking, well, they're aged up, so that's fine. Fry stated before that even aging the character up is still wrong. But we then head into this image of Marnie from Pokemon, a trainer of whom I believe is somewhere from the ages of 12 to 15, within the show itself. I ask for Mongrel to not send me shit like that again, and they respond by saying, dude, the legal age in the Pokemon world is like 10. That really helps their case. So, for Fry to claim that Carmen Ryder is a pedophile for viewing a lolicon, but not Mystic Mongrel for viewing the same pornographic material, is hypocritical in and of itself, especially when you factor in Mongrel's health document, and self-admission that whenever she gets stressed out, she has thoughts of grooming fucking minors. That, to myself, is much more action than Carmen Ryder's ever had in those regards. Yet Fry claims that when it comes to Mystic Mongrel, it's all invalid and outdated. This, however, cannot be further from the truth. You see, your past will always come back to haunt you. Such as myself, I have done actions that I wish I'd never done. So does everybody else. The fact that we no longer wish to have those be part of our lives or known to the public does not make such invalid. We have still taken such action. Take, for example, myself siding with Nekopon in the past, as most of us did. It's not invalid that I saw some proof of Nekopon being a groomer before falling into her sob story and breaking free later on, because it fucking happened. People can bring it up as they so please, as it has actually happened. It's not my proudest moment, and I've learned from it, but it is far from being fucking outdated or dare I say invalid. Everybody is entitled and has a right to opinion. My whole point here to Fry was that you cannot say one person is a pedophile, but not another for doing the same exact action. Mystic Mongrel had to go and tell Fry the difference between lolicon and straight up pedophilia as a result of this. And I state to Mongrel that I brought up the Loli shit with her whenever Fry brought it up on Carmen in hopes that Fry would be able to realize neither of them are by definition pedophiles. Well, I mean, Mongrel might be because of the health doc, but that never came to be, and Fry had hypocrisy at the ass there. And before people say I'm defending lolicon, I don't. I've let my views be known time and time again. I personally find it fucking disgusting, but I do not hate people who get off to it. It's a legal gray zone, and you cannot 100% determine pedophilia as they're drawn characters, of which actually falls under scatophilia. But if you guys want to know my entire thoughts on lolicon, let me know in the comments below, and I can open that can of worms on January 6, 2022. The next 3 weeks, as you all know, are pretty well booked.
And if she really was one, I had never seen a report being attracted to minors as an adult. Anyways, my real issue with Emmy, at least for me, is that they're falling to that Nekopon-esque behavior. And if you're wondering what that is, it's more like the bad faith arguing, basically not even really arguing in good faith, or actually presenting anything coming forward. The overly sensitive demeanor, and he has, of course, tried to get me and other people to spy or attack Marvel.
Fry here states that Emmy is becoming more and more like Nekopon and is only arguing in bad faith, but what I've seen behind the scenes is actually the exact opposite of this. Emmy will contact specific people before making any major decisions a good 90% of the time, and will every now and then hold votes. Emmy, VB, and some of the others from the older group will even oftentimes contact the other victims to ask permission for anything that they wish to be allowed to use for any given occasion. Another thing to note is that Emmy has been fighting against Nekopon for years, to when it was just themselves and their friends for the longest time, many of whom wish not to be named, but still have time to time helped out in this plight. Mystic Mongrel had only gotten involved well after the fact in February of 2021, and immediately put Nekopon on blast with my help on March 3rd, 2021. Emmy has actually been quite the incredible ally to myself, and with Emmy, VB, and the rest of the group, I've had some amazing fucking times. In fact, Fry and VB were the two who I had the closest bonds to. Emmy never forced myself to pick sides, whereas Mongrel tried to constantly. Let me just read a few examples of when this had actually, happened. Emmy should not be an active part. Look how bad things got the moment Emmy joined. Again, I'll see about it once this call is over. You're starting to show the same behaviors as the first live stream, and it's very unsettling, dude. I'm not trying to pick sides. I'm saying that right now we're in a call. We will deal with this after said call. You're more than welcome to rejoin and chat about the Maxie and Ray situation. We can deal with it if I had enough time between waking up and going to work. I need to rest. Last note, T is going through mental shutdown because of the massive stress from yesterday. If you need to communicate to T, it'll need to be through me. Hopefully they can do better by the end of the week. I know it won't happen immediately, so just make sure they're safe and that they get better. Why should I ask Emmy when, at the time, I was not spreading their evidence everywhere, yet they had the guts to accuse me of doing such? And they thought of risking L being backstabbed was a good idea, and they decided to start fucking lying about me, and they came in demanding being in charge of the entire fucking situation, starting fights, and accusing me of being a manipulator, and fucking blurring over T trying to talk. You pulled that both sides are at fault bullshit like a goddamn dumbass and didn't fucking listen to me. Both sides are at fault, Mongrel. Both of you need to quit talking shit and just work out your problems. T and I are two of the few who do not dislike you who are anti-Nekopon. Communication needs to happen bad. What is your fucking damage in saying this shit? I'm not the fucko saying someone's a manipulator and getting pissy when they say they need proof of harassment. Mongrel, do not test me. Not right now. Both you and Emmy talk shit on each other. I've seen your DMs with Frenchy and Mark, even my own. You talk shit too, not just Emmy. Quick question. When have I ever lied about Emmy? All the fucking time, actually. When have I ever tried forcing control of a situation? All the fucking time. I cannot say when you've lied or told the truth. They have not been manipulative to myself, and they wish not have it spread around like wildfire as they've been asked by Alt. A grooming victim. I get that you want everything out now and you want all the information that you can, but if somebody tells you not to use their evidence, don't. The big YouTubers uninvolved do not need to be bring in. Blank and blank might join because of mutual friends I have, blank and blank. Mongrel, you try to force control a lot. When people do not agree with you, same as Emmy or Frenchy, you try to have people believe they're traitors when they're not. They help to get pups out of hacking people with me. Dude, them not agreeing with me is not what made me think they're traitors. But I do understand where you're coming from. Nekopon fucked you over. Nekopon fucked a lot of people over too. Other people. You did not think that Emmy was a traitor until the call with T. Then you went around to Jay and others and showed me their DMs with you and Alt. And you tried with Mark. With me. Just because there's a bad interaction does not mean they're a traitor. By the way, during this time, Mongrel was trying to say that Emmy was working with Nekopon, and they still allude to it to this very fucking day. It is the most retarded claim I've seen to date. There's a while where, Mongrel let it go and was like, okay, they're not a traitor, and then doing their own thing. But what has Mongrel think that Emmy's working for Neko is because Emmy does not have Nekopon blocked. I don't even have Nekopon blocked, so... But even though Mongrel knew that, they never claimed I was a traitor at the time because I was helping them out, every now and then. Every piece of information pretty well goes through myself, whether it be you and T, Emmy and VB, my group, Pup's group, Majesty's group, etc. I am involved with each party. Nobody else is. Emmy showed up and fighting. Immediately started happening. Emmy showed up and immediately started accusing me of shit. Emmy showed up and progress immediately went sideways half the time. Emmy got Fry and G away from Nekopon single-handedly. She's the one who saved G, not you, not me. It was Emmy. I don't know if you already knew that already or not. Emmy needs to learn some goddamn manners then. So do you. We all do. We all have infighting. First I'm hearing of it. I've known since the day it happened, Mongrel. Now, think about this. When was the last time I was acting like this? I didn't want shit to happen with G and Emmy talking, as I did not know how you'd go about it, so I asked about it to Fry. Mongrel, listen. I don't care about the rivalry with yourself and Emmy. You won't use their evidence without their permission. Simple as that. Whatever fighting you two want to do, you can go ham with. I didn't start saying anything about Emmy until after they had started attacking me. Actually, no, you were starting, VC-wise in May. We need to focus on Nekopon right now. Emmy brought up how you spread information like wildfire. Then you went apeshit. That's how I see it. You contacted Jay. You went to contact VB. I don't know if you did. You went to make their boyfriend mad at her, trying to ruin their relationship. You knew that their boyfriend thought of dumping her if she got involved. You do not do that. That's what Nekopon does with people, is she tries to ruin their relationships. You wanna know how I saw it? Because you need to fucking hear my logic. Don't become that. You're better than this, Mongrel. I know you are. I did not go weep shit at the accusation. I simply said to show proof. Emmy was the one who flipped out. I don't care about a breakup, to be honest. I figured if Emmy doesn't fucking respect me enough to not attack me and start making lies, why should I respect a demand to not contact a boyfriend? So, exactly what Ray did. Which you called him out for. What do you mean? When he contacted Lena's family, boyfriend and girlfriend is pretty well family. They're dating. If they get married, they're family. Ray was bent on harassing Lena for shit that was long over. You still did the same action. I told her boyfriend about things that were happening at the moment. And this was a fun time. Mongrel at this time was trying to turn myself, Jay, VB, who we're gonna call V, all away from Emmy, and they were also trying to get Fry away from Emmy. I think I mentioned they were trying to get me away from Emmy, and this is unscripted right now. And they'd gone behind the scenes, and they were trying to get, who we're gonna call M, away from Emmy, and they were trying to get Emmy's boyfriend at the time away from Emmy, trying to turn everybody against them because Emmy, T, and Mongrel got into a spat, which Giraffe Jackson recorded the later half of. I told Fry he could do whatever with the info, as he told you, so it's whatever. You never fucking kept shit hidden from me before the infighting started. I've also kept shit hidden from Emmy. What else are you fucking keeping from me? I don't tell what I'm not asked to. On either side. Yeah, like how you kept it hidden from him that I thought he was a traitor. I'll talk to you when you're more calm. Actually, during this time, I had told Emmy and Fry about the traitor shit as they were helping, show shit to Pups. Basically, at the time, Pups was basically the messenger from Neko's group to the hacking group and could do a little bit of hacking themselves. Nekopon had manipulated Pups into thinking that we were some, evil fuckers and that, she's all innocent. She does that a lot. She'll get her fucking echo chamber, I'm gonna call them her chambers, but it's her server. Has like 50 people in there right now who just repeat the same shit that she's innocent, and then people who are new and join, they're gonna believe that, so I don't blame Pups. And at the same time, another thing is everybody, like myself, Mongrel, Emmy, we all were under Neko's rule at one time or another. But why I told Emmy was because at the time, we were literally speaking with Pups and had just gotten pups out from Neko's grasp, right? And I brought it up and I was laughing my ass off about it. I'm like, they really fucking think that you and Fry are traitors when yourself, myself, and Fry just got pups away from the fucking groomer. And I'm proud to say Pups is one of my greatest fucking allies to this day. Love her to bits. And that's just a handful of the examples. Eventually it had gotten to where FryFilms and Mystic Mongrel kept going on about sharing all the evidence of the victims without their consent to one-up Nekopon for weeks, and the two of them kept trying to force me to pick sides and take their side. Eventually that actually had myself snap, and I chose Emmy's side in the end rather than staying neutral as I kept doing. Mongrel had actually gotten pissed off about how neutral I always was on every little thing, but in their script tries to say I attack all the time, which makes no sense to me. If you're gonna get mad at me for never picking sides, and then the next minute get pissed that I'm apparently always attacking, that is very conflicting, because before that I'd only taken sides once prior. Another thing to note is when Emmy had mistakenly misgendered who we're going to call T. Now, T had gotten over it within 72 hours, and to my knowledge, they have made up. Whereas, up to 6 weeks after the fact, Mystic Mongrel was still yelling to everybody that she could that Emmy was transphobic, which is an incredible action that to myself is an argument in bad faith. In fact, after there had been fighting for around 10 minutes, Giraffe Jackson, the big old toe-sucking cuck, he decided that it would be best to record it. Not to mention Mystic Mongrel constantly going to not only myself, but several others that know Emmy to try and turn them against her. Like, come on. What Mongrel never wants to say is that they both go after each other, because I've seen them both do it. Mongrel tries to be seen as the victim in all accounts. That is an argument in bad faith if I've ever seen one. And about that person you believe was spying, they actually weren't. In fact, if I head over to another server, the person they joined the resistance with was spying on me. You fucking retards. They both became very good allies to myself, however, and they became very good allies of Emmy as well. Now, they were not spying for Mongrel, they're spying for another person. I want to get that out there before people think that. And I don't believe that if they were spying on us and we were some, evil entities, that they would actually take our side in a lot of this bullshit. But please do continue, Fry. However, for yourself, I cannot speak on that. But the individual I know yourself a Mongrel claimed was a spy was never a spy. If Emmy has in fact gotten yourself to spy on Mongrel, I suggest creating a Google Drive or documenting it, put a link in your description to help better paint the picture and explain your side, because you're showing extremely little evidence for this, and the evidence that pops up later in the video is heavily cropped out with a lot of context actually fucking missing.
For my sections, I like to organize this point by point rather than any other way because that'll be easier for me, and I'll be covering all the other hypocrisies and what they've done to me in specific.
Okay, so I show that clip and stop here, only to say it's actually good to listen to what Fry has to say going forward. I know my channel is very haha funny, let's laugh, penis, kill the cats, lol. A lot of trolling and shit, but there will be shit on here that I will agree with on Fry going forward when he better explains himself, but there's going to be a lot that I do not agree with. Keep in mind that while now I know what's happening, I wrote this script on my very first watch of the video, so you get to hear what my thoughts back then were, and then you get to have like some little off-script bits. And you can think of me as your daddy. I
joined these two accusations together as they are both around the same category. Firstly, I do not record calls. Whenever I ever recorded a call without consent of all parties, the exception being when I tried to prove to Emmy and the rest of the pro-Emmy group that Amy was not Mystic Mongrel.
Why there was heavy assumption that you recorded calls was yourself in VCs, stating that you would, or you wish you'd have recorded, on several different occasions. It had actually gotten to the point where several members in Akumu server had the code word Red Rum whenever you would join calls to scatter until you left the call. It actually ended up becoming that bad with how often you would claim you should record, wish you did, might record, or jokingly said stuff like taking another member of Akumu server out of context. All of that aligning with the fact you blur everything we said to Mystic Mongrel in those VCs in real time with Mongrel asking me about them, that made yourself seem heavily suspicious, Fry. You do have to actually understand that bringing it up constantly will get people to not want to be in voice calls with yourself, where most of the server actually ended up refusing to, from again, how often you would bring up the topic of your own accord, especially when myself and Emmy were also in set call. Sometimes it would be, 3 people, sometimes there were even 6 or 7 of us, and you just say it without worry. I get it, I do stuff too for fun, but you cannot be surprised or upset when people start to take notice of it. The best you can do is have fun with it at the very least, or, stop the action and say, it was all, fuckery, instead of saying it's all fuckery and then going back to it. You had also stated to myself that I was the first to say you were giving people the creeps, when I myself know another member had DM'd you prior for the very same reason, and along with their username stating, Akumu's groom victim, which, yeah, that one's not going to age well for you.
Like, why didn't Mongrel tell you?
I just want to get people's actual first names accounts on.
Or one of our alt accounts, which I'll go over in more detail later.
So, okay, you're claiming that Amy Ray is not one of Mongrel's alternative accounts, when I have some nifty screenshots here that, say otherwise. And not to mention that I work in audio fry. So, now originally in my script I was going to play, the Amy Ray's 1 to 7, and I will at the end. I'm actually going a little off script here. This is future nil. I'm trying to have a little bit of a different voice, so you guys can tell. But basically, there were some, let's say, new additions that you'll see at the end of this. In that call, it's clearly a fucking voice changer, and Mongrel's nowhere to be heard in that call section. I hear Fry, Amy, and one of my homeboys, Travis, and, I guess to some people it might be a little convincing. To me, it's not, but what I will say is, you'll notice in my thing, it sounds suspiciously like Mongrel. So, sorry to break the fourth wall like this, all of a sudden, but, let's just open up, good old Opera GX, okay? Hey, you know that with enough audio editing, I can sound like anyone else, right? Mongrel, you're a bad liar, I barely edited it. What about waiting for my video? Ooh, I know. Why would I go through all that? Logically. But Mongrel, who cares if I lied about something as dumb as an alt account? When you're trying to say that Emmy harassed said alt account off the internet for believing they're you, and yourself lying through your teeth about it, I'm trying to have that one be one of your main points, is that Emmy harassed your friend off the internet. That's when it gets to be us caring if you lied. Now we're gonna open up FL Studio. Now, I'll remake everything right from scratch too, so you can see I barely do shit. So now if we switch this to say number 4, right? So
I just want to get people's actual first names accounts on.
We're gonna go through all of this. We'll leave that out for now, and we'll do the absolute basics. We've got that, and we've got the EQ.
I just want to get people's actual first names accounts on.
Yeah, it's like that's all I needed to do, and then with the extra bit of this, I'll get rid of the background noise. We're gonna play a video by Mystic Mongrel.
And here we see an example of a hypocrite.
And again, I'll debunk the entire point of the Mongrel is working with me, or I'm working for Mongrel, or we're manipulating each other to, spite Emmy at all times. And I will say this again, whatever action I do is not under Mongrel's decision. Whatever I do is whatever I do, and that's it.
That's really nice and all, but sadly I have to claim bullshit on that, as yourself and Mongrel decided to fucking yoinky sploinky my best friend and try to use him against me. He was able to tell me some cool shit, such as Mongrel wanting everybody in my old server he's now owner of to be banned from it, and then Mongrel wanting to hack into my Tom Jones account, which was lost when everything, including my old emails, went bye-bye from the Necopon hacking situation, which I won't get into detail of here, as I willingly deleted my shit to ensure Necopon couldn't put pro-Neco shit on my accounts or harm my buds with them. And the funniest part in all of that is that Mongrel initially denied it before stating they were doing so in order to help me get my server back. That was until I asked about why they wanted everybody banned and then they got angry again. You also helped me know of a time in the past that Mongrel wanted to hack me prior, showing this is not Mongrel's first time. And we have Mongrel saying in an earlier screenshot, even in the video, that I'll crop for here. It's earlier, don't worry. They're saying that they just won't hack me first. There's also a time in August where we are informed by G that Mongrel wanted to dox myself at one point if I were to ever state their name publicly, not to mention Mongrel wanting to hack Necopon as well as Holy Majesty. Now, why they wanted to hack Holy Majesty was in case they ever said G's actual name on anything, but Holy Majesty had no fucking clue who G even was. And there had actually been some action in having pups hack me. I was even informed, you know, like, if Fry gets close to pups, that they'll have their wee chopped off. I can't share that screenshot, but that is the funniest shit I was ever sent. I know behind the scenes, you know, Pup's partner was pissed, but that made me chuckle a bit when I go back to look at it. And do you really think my audience is stupid enough to believe that you two don't suck each other's toes on everything behind the scenes? Remember, my best friend was willing to tell myself, Emmy, VB, and others some of the shit you two were pulling, such as when you two were attacking Emmy. But when I said I was the new leader, all attentions then magically turned to me. When I was now supposedly the face of all anti-Necopon, you went for me heavily after that. Like, fucking immediately, proving to me that the only reason Mongrel was after Emmy is because Mongrel wanted to be the face of the anti-Necopon movement. Mongrel has even stated that they want to be the face of it before. Anyways, before I continue ranting, let's move on to the next section. This is a response, not a rant. Well, for the time being, that comes later. That's the 23rd.
This is a recent thing that I've done to myself, so a conversation me and VB had about the document. Mongrel's already mentioned in the past about how, you know, she's not a pedo. In summary, an intrusive thought is essentially your brain trying to screw with you. Emmy considers this a double standard because I call Carmen a pedo on the basis that she's attracted to children, defends Shadman, and defends Horn of OCs even if they are based on real people or children. The difference between Mongrel and Carmen is for me is that, you know, Mongrel isn't really as bad of a person, but I'm not gonna really get into Carmen Ryder being a pedo because that video isn't for that.
Fry, why we say you cannot say Carmen Ryder is a pedophile for liking Lolicon is because you also say Mongrel is not for liking Lolicon. Look, if people say Carmen's a pedophile for liking Lolicon and they say every other person who likes Lolicon's a pedophile, I personally say the fuck out of it, you know? But if said people will say Carmen's a pedophile for liking Loli, but not others who like Lolicon, not to mention have thoughts of touching children whenever they become fucking stressed, that starts to become a huge fucking issue in and of itself. Mongrel, for example, has sent myself Lolicon on Facebook when I asked her not to send me such, even stating at the time they still had intrusive thoughts when we go to Discord. The images were sent on August 6, 2021, and prior to that, Mongrel has said the thoughts had stopped, which right there shows that Mongrel's a liar in that regard and that they do pop up from time to time.
They have, for example, Nil, in his video, he's shown the temper flash nudes in this video. If you go into his Rip Ray Rants comment section video, which of course in context it just shows, you know, Ray Rants' comment section for his deleted video about the Necopon situation, along with a thumbnail that I've made, just saying that, like, oh, Necopon's innocent, if you want the whole context for the video, but it shows the nudes.
When it comes to the temper flash image, yes, they did appear completely blacked out in my Rip Ray Rants comment section video to show that their existence was in fact real, leaving only the lighting. It's not nudes, and it was in the Necopon Evidence Chamber Part 2 due to Mongrel bitching, whining, and complaining, until Emmy put the image of Temper's censored lingerie pic in there to show G that Necopon truly did have such images on her computer. Why that happened was because the Necopon would often send images like that to people she knew without a care in the world, spreading them in servers left, right, and center, yet somehow nobody ever knew, you know, she was a fucking creepazoid. That one I don't believe. And I'm not saying I don't believe that Necopon did not send them in servers left, right, and center. I'm saying I find it hard to believe that all these big YouTubers never once thought she was a fucking creep for doing that shit. And to my knowledge, the existence of the Necopon group chats until I believe Part 4 were for reports to the FBI and local police to ensure her swift capture and hopeful charges for her actions on grooming multiple children. Part 3, I believe, started when we were trying to speak to Fry and, like, be like, yo, this is what's fucking happening, dipshit. And then that just ended up becoming its own new group chat with the most damning evidence being in part 2. When it came to Mongrel, she had decided to show the photo to the server of Harley TBS among other several YouTube Discord servers, ensuring that thousands had the image saved alongside the rest of our evidence against Nekopon. Oh, and by the way, Fry, you have the wrong timestamp, but I mean, I did correct you in DMs, letting you know the actual timestamp, so that was a fun time. You couldn't even get that right.
Secondly, Emmy has also sent the nudes, and Mill has also sent the nudes in DMs and in group chats. Hell, even in private servers. They, well, essentially are anti-Mongrel. They've also sent Bat Penis, which is the cursed drawing, which I cannot describe.
Something with myself is that I have a bad memory, you know, due to being hit and run in 2018, my head smashing off a fucking curb. That was a lot of fun. Where I say in DMs I have is I usually am uncertain on what the fuck's even going on. So VB and I actually went through all my DMs with Fry to see if there were any sus images, and those were all of them that we found that just popped up on screen. There was no temper images in our DMs when we went through the has image, and on top of that, the group chat shown by Fry was where I took Giraffe Jackson aside to wreck him before leaving him behind, as he kept going on about how Nekopon was in her legal rights to groom children. Apparently it just was not moral. I shit you the fuck not on that. Fry was not added into the chat until after everything had gone down because he was bitching and moaning about not being in when I let Mark in to have one final fuck you to Giraffe Jackson. But he didn't care that Mark was in the chat prior until Mark apparently betrayed Mongrel and him. This happens after the video's out. Even when everything I threw at Giraffe Jackson in that chat, he kept going on about how Nekopon was in her rights. So I threw everything that I had in there. Oh, and the Bat Penis alt is actually in another YouTuber's drive. I'll get into that later. And nobody had an issue with that. And if we really want to boil shit down, your temper point was good, but then you added onto it to try and make myself out look I'm just sharing it everywhere rather than one group with Giraffe Jackson, where he was in the Nekopon Evidence Chamber Part 2, so he had access to that for, you know, legal reports. I'm gonna put a picture here. The Resistance actually does take this seriously. We have sections dedicated to the laws Nekopon has broken, to her victims, to the FBI reports themselves. We have sections for that. Like, we take this as seriously as we fucking can. And I'll admit, you know, at the beginning of myself going anti-Nekopon, I made a lot of bad fucking moves. It was my first time ever being in a case where I was against a pedophile, and the amount of rage I had from April 23rd until literally like fucking early June was consuming every aspect of my life. It really was. During that time, I was just like yourself in Mongrel. Just throw everything we have at her, don't stop with the attacks, etc. All I can do is thank God that I eventually got out of that mindset and realized that I needed to be tactile, rather than, Nekopon sat and drew this, gimme share, without any other thought than vengeance. And hell, you know, I've made mistakes here and there since then, but they've been nowhere as bad.
Alright, so remember how in Fry's video, he censored out the, you know, the images. Now here's the funny part, okay? Yeah. Wow. Like you can see, this is right where it was in the thing. It's the same images. And you know that's really really horrible and all, right? So we're gonna go here, right? Oh my, what's this? Yeah, literally. I just fucking sing Climax in my head all day. And considering nobody in the public eye ever had an issue with that, and you felt that you had to censor it at that point, like, okay. And yes, I do consider that CP, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm not even gonna censor for this video. Just fuck all y'all. Oh my, and what's this? The second alt image that you're pissed off that I shared. But, again, other people, you know, high-ranking YouTubers and small YouTubers in the case, are all using this one as well, and it's cropped. And again, you know what's actually happening. It's already censored, so I don't even need to censor this one at all. But yeah, there's the second alt image. Yep. I'm a real bad person, guys. I'm sorry for that.
Also, like, mind you, I was also in those group chats anyway. I was in there, and they sent that shit. And even if I wasn't there, it's still not okay. Even if I wasn't present by any chance, still not okay.
I love how Fry says, even if I wasn't present, he suddenly hinted how he was only added after bitching and moaning in VC about not being in it when I laughed about how stupid Alex was. This happened in, I believe, the Resistance voice chat. Another thing to add as well, the entire time the GC with Giraffe Jackson had only actually lasted 31 minutes in total, and then I removed everybody from the GC. I forgot to remove Fry from it later because it was a dead GC anyways, and Giraffe Jackson got pegged by every being of the universe at once. That was a lot of fun.
Because by your logic, by your own logic, you're a pedo, you're the groomers, you're the bad people. And again, I'm gonna go by absolution of law. Like, I don't care if Emmy got them first or Neko sent them to them, therefore they should distribute them. I don't care about that. If you sent porn, like you sent porn to minors, especially CP to minors, you're still sus, nonetheless.
The temper images are censored lingerie pictures, which are still very sus, yes. And we had them in the Necropon evidence chat part 2 due to Mystic Mongrel bitching and moaning and pleading with Emmy to show G to ensure they know Necropon was a groomer, as Necropon had sent them for not only to people in direct messages, but servers as well. I touched on that previous, and, full-on servers just as Mystic Mongrel would later on do. The evidence chats for purposes of Emmy, VB, myself, and others, as well as communists and resistance, were to gather every little detail that we could and report it to Cybertips, the FBI, local police. Hell, I was even considering Interpol until I was informed they were more EU-based and wouldn't be of much help. And earlier, like if I show some extra sections we have in the Resistance, we've actually been keeping a close eye on Necropon and her bitch boy Ray Rants, with informants from the outside as well. We have informants in multiple servers, including the servers of Star Giant Productions, and amazingly, no, Mark is not an informant when it comes to Star. Despite being my best friend, he's also friends with Star, so he's not really involved when it comes to that. The people who have contacted me have made the first moves in almost all cases, and some have even left Star's server when they see both sides and hear more about Necropon. What I find hilarious is that at the time we were going against Necropon, you had not spoken of making any form of report on her because you were a minor. Yet when I was a meanie to you, you had spoken of making a police report on myself, which really does help to show where your, thought process lies. Are we pedophiles? Fuck no. Do we make a plethora of blunders in the case? Fuck yes. Amazingly, for almost all of us, this was our first ever time going after a pedophile. So much shit that I did in the Necropon case, I would never actually do again in any other of my 13 cases. Netwatch and other groups are professionals, and seeing how they handle shit made myself feel like an absolute fool for how I was handling shit related to Necropon beforehand. But if you want to say that we're groomers, that's actually an even bigger claim. And oh boy, you see, unlike the pedophile claim where I can see, 3 in 10 people might agree with you, claiming that we're groomers after that has just destroyed your argument right there. To my knowledge, I do not ever recall us stating that Mongrel was a groomer. I remember myself and Emmy, comparing Mongrel to Carmen every time that you claimed Carmen was a pedo, to where we'd say, if you're saying Carmen's a pedo for this, you have to say the same for Mongrel for doing the exact same shit, you retard. So, whenever you brought that up with Carmen, I'd bring up Mongrel. And again, I brought up earlier the Facebook shit, wanting to groom kids when she's stressed, etc. So I'm not going to get too into detail after that. But Mongrel has more on being after real-life kids than Carmen does. And while some people might be 100% lolicon makes people pedos, and others 100% it does not, I think everybody can agree that claiming one person's a pedo for liking Loli but not another for the same and then some is absolutely fucking retarded and hypocritical in and of itself.
And mind you, there's also evidence that they've sent the Temper Flash situation. They sent the Temper Flash stuff to Lita. Mind you, Lita is 14, and they are Nilzar's sister. And it was pretty fucked up to do nonetheless. They've also had their grandmother, who is currently in a very ill state right now. They've also sent it to Jude, their older sister. Essentially, they try to teach, Giraffe Jackson that, Nekopon's a pedo, and Nekopon's this and that, but they sent, the drawings, the sexually explicit images, and everything to Alex, and it was disgusting to me. So if they're going to use the, they sent it to more people argument, it doesn't even matter. Sending child pornography is still sending child pornography, regardless. Sending it to one person is no different than sending it to 1 million people.
I actually agree with Fry here that I should not have had Lita in the chat, and luckily she nor any of my other family members were actually awake at the time the GC was up, and I can personally confirm this. And it was fun to demolish him with my family in the GC, but again, to say that I sent them the images rather than sending them to the chat, once again, is to try and make it seem as though I'm throwing the images out everywhere besides the one group with Giraffe Jackson and to select members of the Safe Haven, alongside everyone in the Neko Evidence Chamber Chamber Part 2, aka everybody who already had access to it, when nobody believed me that Nekopon was actually a kitty diddler, and my blind rage in April after I was defecting from Nekopon herself is simply to exaggerate the amount and the cause. The only time I'd sent it after that time in April was, again, the Giraffe Jackson group chat. And I've already explained why I didn't hesitate was because Alex was already in the Nekopon evidence chats due to Mystic Mongrel adding him. Mind you that Mongrel was also very happy to add anybody that she possibly could, not caring about who saw what so long as they would be on her side, and uncaring about what she was allowed to share or show anybody. Thusly, I had no actual reason to care when Giraffe Jackson had already seen them and my entire family was actually asleep at the time. Also, for a little bit more backstory on Alex is that he claimed to be a neutral party in the Nekopon situation, but in reality, he was recording calls and screenshotting everything for Nekopon. We eventually found out about this and started to demolish the fucker left, right, and center. Mark and I especially would have a lot of fun making him backtrack on everything. Now to focus on the next part, why it was necessary to give the name of my sister Jude. Are you in hopes that people will contact her or perhaps even harass my family as my actual name is out there to the public and saying her name of Jude will get people to look on my Facebook and search for her and harass her? Is that what you were hoping would happen? That's not cool, dude. I know I've said Jude's name in my, my storytime videos, but you seem to forget that you could have just said Nil's family including Lita to make your statement still pop out, and I think it would pop out even more if you just included Lita. I have multiple siblings, I have 2 older sisters, 1 younger sister, 1 stepsister who's younger than me, as well as an older brother and a younger stepbrother, plus Jude's stepsister, and when my mother was with an ex-partner, an older stepbrother alongside a younger stepbrother, and also to include my grandmother, and her illness is actually quite hilarious. My grandmother has actually only used Discord 2 times in total since her account was made that I actually know of. She lives most of her life online as well due to her illnesses with breathing, to where she's now in a fucking wheelchair most of the time from the strain the walking puts on her body, at only 66 years of age. As a result, she lives most of her life on the internet, as without it, she's just sitting there and smoking non-stop. She doesn't even have a television, for fuck's sake. She watches everything via her internet. That attempt to one-up me by trying to get into detail about my family has actually backfired on yourself. Should I speak about when you and G were going to try and turn Lita against myself in favor of Nekopon when I first defected? Contacting my family? That could be a nice little story, but I think I'll save that one for a later date, And I know Spunky Monkey and their alts are going to be in the comments of this video, so I'm just going to make a tally in my pinned comment for on how many of their alts I see, but yes, it's wrong to share the censored lingerie pics to prove Nekopon's a pedophile regardless. While it does not make us pedophiles, it does make us irresponsible with what evidence we had at our disposal. All I can say is at least we knew well enough to not share it to every server that we could.
This is part of the video that I'm really gonna fucking hate. Because I'm actually going to have to, in order to have people not believe myself or my family are pedophiles, share my DMs with my own family.
I felt as if this were appropriate to mention in this video after I brought up the pedo shit. About VB's overtly sexual behavior towards myself. What VB was doing as one of her mocking periods towards myself was essentially engaging in making obscene jokes about me engaging in sexual activity with Mongrel, as well as, sticking my fries and treating her no square, whatever, etc. It's still weird, and I just wanted to call that out just for a little bit, okay?
For saying the sticking fries in the no-no square, you only put up a picture of sucking on toes, which is actually a well-known euphemism for what people call white knighting or simping. Basically, it means that you're always at Mongrel's beck and call, ready to act on whatever she decides without putting much thought or questioning into it. Hell, you even confided in Mark that you like to be ordered around. VB was merely calling that shit out. But please, do continue, Fry.
I mean, she is sexualizing a minor and still is trying to make jokes about Mongrel having bored, whatever.
The protecting Mongrel's clit, I will agree, is a little over the top, but what it was meant to refer to as protecting Mongrel's ass, aka taking falls for and making excuses non-stop to try and justify everything that Mongrel has done wrong without a worry or care in the world. Not caring about if Mongrel is fucking over people just to satiate her own desires of being, the face of all anti-Nekopon. I know this to be true because when I had stated I was now the leader of the resistance, yourself and Mongrel turned all your attention to myself and dropped Emmy, but before I said that, you guys were all, Emmy's the biggest bad guy, but now it's all Nil's the biggest bad guy. That showed myself your true intentions, as well as after I'd stated that, you guys trying to go over to Star Giant and Rosa and trying to have them go against me. Well, they already are against me, but, working together to go against the big bad Nil, trying to do that. So yes, your true intentions were shown for the both of you. And for some reason, you both want to be leader, but here's another thing. back when I was neutral on everything with you and Mongrel, you kept stating on repeat that I should be the leader of the Resistance.
The Emmy faction is making a game involving Necropon, a known sexual predator, along with other people involved in the situation. The game is rated 16 plus because, well, at least according to Nil, that it has NSFW content, but it is censored.
This is true, but the visual novel is just myself creating it, and why it's 16 plus is because the main cast are, fucking child groomers. The main premise of the game is that you play as a Necropon and there are two routes. One of them you can get with Crystali and the other Tecmo 64. On top of that, the game is only to be playable by members of the Resistance and a very select few behind the scenes. It will never become public, and I can do a little quick playtest if people want me to do a quick playtest later on in the future, despite myself not working on it since day 2 and everything currently being placeholders. The premise is that Necropon believes she's in high school with, several cliques, but at the end of the game, her fantasies start to fade away about her being in high school with a bunch of cute boys, and slowly fades in and out from the prison until she realizes that she's actually incarcerated, and she has been the entire time. If that's super sexual, then please allow for myself to know. Again, only people over 16 who were either victims of Necropon or are in the Resistance are allowed to play it. It's for a select few. It's very simplistic.
The genre of choice is kind of like a dating simulator, similar to Doki Doki Literature Club if you kind of want to comparison. Kind of like that kind of vibe. It does have sexual content as well as actual people in the game, by the way.
Juvenile Prison Dating Simulator will not have NSFW content besides raunchy as fuck jokes and, talks about Crystali and Tecmo's actions alongside Necropon. If you cannot take adult jokes, then that is simply too bad for you. Necropon liquid shit on a man's dick. If you think that I will not make a joke about that in the game, then you are dead fucking wrong. But yes, all of Necropon's crew and Emmy's crew will be there, as again, the game is never released to the public, so I can use real people and not get butt-fucked by 12-inch needles. By the way, I was told of this by another individual who had watched your video, so this is future Nil right here, sorry about this. But apparently, they said that I was trying to make it seem as though we were trying to profit off the fucking victims. No. This is a game made by the victims, for the victims. Sorry about that, buddy. Oh, and I want to specify, because I said, again, this is another future Nil, because I realized a fuck up I did. A game by the victims for the victims. Well, Nil, didn't you say it was only you working on it? Originally, we were all going to be working on it, but you see, when Fry and Mongrel decided it would be good to try and go after us, we decided, let's make an RPG. I have the visual novel just by me now, and the RPG... Let's just say almost all of Necropon's victims are fucking working on that, and it's going to be incredible, so fucking fuck you, Fry.
In conclusion, these are pretty awful people, and if you have your own evidence against them, use it. I encourage all victims of any person I talk about in my videos, come forward and just speak about what they want to. It's okay. Doesn't matter. Anyways, I'll return soon with a brand new video. Peace.
The funny thing with this is that we can literally pull a 180 on you, and in fact I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask two individuals called Green and Blue to speak about you. They wrote their scripts, but they wish for myself to read them. And while they are short, it's whatever. It's mainly on Mongrel as well. They don't want to be involved in the anthology, but they do want to get a little bit of stuff out of the way. So we're just going to do that right quick, and I feel that'll be a fun way to end shit, and then I can talk about how you're a little bit creepy with, some of the females behind the scenes. Now, the script isn't finished, so I'm going to be leaving it out of this video for Green and Blue. Apologies, Green and Blue. It's nothing personal. It's just that, it's not a completed script, so it wouldn't make much sense. But this is not to mention FryFilms' constant weird messages that he sent to few females. 3 have come forward to say that Fry has been creepy towards them in direct messages, and I've been allowed to share the DMs of one person Fry had made quite uncomfortable with his actions behind the scenes as well. I will be blurring out their face, obviously, when it comes into the, the play. Before Fry wishes to continue with such claims, he should really watch how he interacts with women. That is not to say that I myself am perfect, but rather that he should actually watch how he interacts. It is important to note that Fry himself has stated he has a crush on Necropon, jokingly said he had one on Emmy, and has stated he has a crush on Mystic Mongrel. That in itself has myself believe Fry is into authoritarian female figures and will look past any valid criticism for the vast majority when it comes to them due to that reasoning alone. However, that is my own personal theory mixed with, how he's publicly admitted he enjoys being used. So, hopefully this actually clears up some stuff for you. I know it's only, part 1 of 4 in this anthology, strategy. If you're able to wait until December 30th for me to get everything out there, it would be much appreciated. You know, I'm not innocent in everything, nor is Emmy, nor VB, nor anybody. None of us on any side is really innocent in everything. But I feel like we're probably the best bet when it comes to going after Necopon than, you know, Fry or Mongrel, especially with the shit that they've been pulling behind the scenes. So, yeah, here's to a good one, and have a fair day.
Hello, just a moment. Your call is now first in line and will be answered by the next available representative. Thank you for your patience.